What is up, people? We are back with Down the Middle podcast from Staten Island, not the border.
Not the border.
Like Kamala Harris. I'm Ryan.
I'm Mal.
And we're talking about the border kind of. It wasn't really a visit. It was more like a stop and wave.
Yeah.
That Kamala hit on the border.
It was more like a smile and wave.
Yeah.
You know,
like a Madagascar.
From Madagascar.
Yeah. So there's this big thing that when Joe Biden got elected, people from Central America started to swarm to America. They thought that Joe Biden being elected meant that the evil Donald Trump was gone and that they could all just come. So this has become a crisis.
Yeah.
We have a lot of horrible things that have happened at the border. The increases in immigration are insane, and he put Kamala in charge of this border crisis. She hasn't gone in 93 days.
Yeah, and also like with the detention camps out there, which was also present for a while to begin with. It was pre-Trump era also. It actually started from the Clinton era, but nobody wants to talk about that. But yeah, they also existed in the Trump era, and that was a huge talking point with left-wing outlets as well. The thing is now, they have the same exact thing. There's literally no progress with that. And they actually renamed it as because I sent you a meme about it actually, where they had the detention camps and people were like, boo, and then they renamed it and people were like cheering.
But it's like child protection, something. It was a name just fabricating what they actually are, but more friendly terms.
Right, but and people were okay with that.
Yeah.
It just shows the hypocrisy about how did the exact same thing with a different name.
And even in that meme you sent me, the two pictures, the kids in the cages, are the same amount, but right now there are way more of the kids in cages. You saw the video of Ted Cruz going down to the border when he was trying to take a video of what was inside, and the woman wouldn't let him. Yeah. Those things are packed to the max.
Packed. And more than the last administration.
Yeah, more. 2019, I think, or it was 18 or 19, was a huge spike year for the border crossings, and even then didn't come close to where we're at now.
No.
We've already surpassed in June. We've already surpassed the amount of border encounters that we had through the entire year. And that was I think that was the biggest year. The 70s and the 80s were huge for the border too. I'm not sure if those years passed it. I think they might have, but in terms of recent history, 2021 has been insane when it comes to the border.
Insane.
Cartels have benefited hundreds of millions of dollars. They mobilized immediately after November 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, cartels run literally like almost all of Mexico. So
yeah. So they saw that election, and they saw there was going to be less crackdown and more flow, and they benefited greatly. So Kamala went down to the border, kind of. She went to El Paso, Texas.
She went to the wrong side of the border. That's pretty much what
So she went to the very left tip of Texas.
Yeah.
Where the Riu Grande, which is at the kind of focal point, the closest to Mexico and Texas you can get. That's where you have 271,000 arrests so far.
Right, that's where most of the encounters are actually happening.
That's where all that.
Like that's really the focal point of the conversation. But it's like going to not where it's not where she was supposed to go. Basically, in simple terms.
Yeah, and the idea is that she went there because she can go there, say, "Hey, I went to the border," which is true. She went to the border, and she can take pictures on the airport. There's nothing crazy going on behind her, rather than going down to the Riu Grande, where in the background there's MS-13 gang members, and there's people trying to get into this country. There are dead children in the river. Crazy stuff.
Actually, though,
so it's kind of to protect herself from what would come if she went to the real Riu Grande, and because then reporters have to ask her, "What do you think about seeing this? What do you think about seeing that?" And Kamala is not very good at speaking, so that would be a tough time for her. Right. And I have to say one thing. I'm sorry about this video. I really don't like Kamala Harris. Like I try to give Biden the benefit of the doubt. I try to look at his positives and then come after him when I think he's wrong. And as a conservative, that's more often than not. I really, really, really don't like Kamala Harris. So I'm going through a tough time right now.
Yeah, I mean, I also dislike Kamala Harris. I don't know, maybe not as much as Ryan, but more so like it all started with the whole how she just during the debates.
Yeah.
That's when it really started. Because she called Joe Biden out for literally every single thing, calling her racist, misogynist, all that stuff. And then she gets an offer to be the vice president. She's like, "Oh, he's a great guy."
Yeah, that was my laugh imitation of Kamala because she laughs at everything.
And we talked about it. It's their scapegoat for getting out of questions.
It's like you ask her a tough question, she just cackles like a hyena. Maybe she saw some hyenas in El Paso, but I really don't like her. So basically, she was 800 miles away from. She actually flew further than she had to just to stay away from the Riu Grande, from where we actually wanted her to go. She was there exposed. She was there for 6 hours, so she wasn't there for very long. Right. And then she had a press conference on the airport before she was like, "I gotta get the heck out of here," which we'll talk about.
So now. I can't answer any questions. There's only so many I can laugh off.
So I don't know. I feel bad for her laughing box. But she said that in the press conference, said that she inherited a bad system in the border, which is not true at all. The border was, you've heard the Mexican president say, the Guatemalan president say, El Salvador, who has lost like half their population to this. They've lost like 2 million people. There are 2 million El Salvador people in America right now. They've lost so many people. And it destroys their economy when this stuff happens. It's not as simple as just leaving a bad place to a good place. These are the drivers of economy that leave. It's horrible. And they've all said that Trump's border policies are better. You should go back to the catch and release and or no catch and release and the remain in Mexico policy. You should go back to that stuff because they were better. But she's saying that they inherited a bad problem.
Yeah. And on top of that, she said it's been 5 months of great progress.
Yeah.
But all they did was rename the detention camps. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to me how you could just 5 months. It took you 5 months to rename a detention camp?
Yeah, I mean, there's a 940% increase from where we were last year.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, there's no progress. There's regression. It's got worse.
Exactly. The only progress is that there has been a literal progress in the amount of people who have crossed. Like, that's, literally, yeah. Maybe that's what she meant. I don't think she thinks like that, though.
No.
She said that, I mean, CNN projects that we're going to have 2 million border encounters this year.
By the end of the year,
Mind you, that 2018, the big spike year, was about, I think it was 890K. So... insane numbers.
Yeah, the biggest was around 890K, 900K.
Yeah. 890K, but remember, ICE was also a lot more active under Trump. There were a lot more deportations. Yeah. There was the remain in Mexico. People were getting sent back. Now they're literally taking people from Mexico, bringing them here, and because they have that policy too now. It was with those people who were sent back under Trump. They're going and telling them they can come now.
Yeah. So think about it. With the increase in ICE presence, right, by the border, there would be more encounters, right? This is straight logic. Now you take away ICE, there would be less encounters, right?
Yeah.
That's what you assume. But now with that decrease in ICE and presence at the border, and on top of that, there are even more encounters with less people.
It's exponentially more.
So
it's not even close.
So let alone the fewer members of the task force that are overlooking that.
Yeah.
The increase in encounters is ridiculous.
Yeah, and we're talking, like, the numbers for deportations are down a lot, too. I think it was around 50% less ICE deportations.
Around there, yeah.
So, craziness. One thing that Kamala likes to talk about a lot is the root causes, which we spoke about in the last video. Man. So, she says that...
the roots.
Yeah, she loves the roots.
Loves them.
One thing that she says right now is that she went to Guatemala before the border because she wanted to find out the root causes of why people are coming to the border. What do you think those reasons are they complex?
We were talking about this off camera again, like, because we have great conversations off camera and then forget to say our thoughts on camera. Really works. But it doesn't take a rocket science to realize the quality of life in those countries and why people are trying to get to the border, and provide a better opportunity for themselves and their families across the border in the U.S. It's not rocket science. And also, like we said, I just said actually just now with Mexico. The cartels are literally running Mexico. And actually, my brother just sent me a picture, I think 2 days ago. I forgot which cartel it was, but the cartel members were in full SWAT gear. And, like, no one would know the difference, obviously, because they're covered from head to toe with SWAT gear. So they could just run around and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But to think that they have their hands on that equipment, that money, that presence, that influence, everything.
That was in Mexico? Okay, not here.
No, not here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, 100% true. Yeah, this idea that the cartels have benefited completely.
And terrorizing communities and societies, of course.
Yeah, and the root causes, I mean, they're very simple. Like, there's the thing from the left that they say is that the justification kind of for why she hasn't gone and why we need to respect the fact she hasn't gone is because it's a very complex issue. There are complexities to every issue, especially on the political stage. Absolutely. But this one is not as complex. They live in bad places. America promises you all this stuff, and you come here and life is better instantly. That's why they want to come. And in years past, it's always been, we're going to only let 1 million people in a year.
Right.
That's immigration in general. That's not just at the border. And these are going to be people who are going to adhere to our policies. They're going to be productive to the American system, which, I mean, that makes sense. We want the best people here, and not the best as in the best as in people who are millionaires, people who are this is people who are going to be good people who will make the most out of the American system. Yeah. That's what we want, and that's always been the system. But when you take that away, everyone comes.
Right.
And the root cause is just that when you let everyone come, everyone comes. That's not complex at all. That's very simple.
Yeah, I just never understood what her obsession was with the root causes.
Yeah.
We were just talking about also, like, for example, if we took COVID, and you know what, let's just get to the root of this. We're actually finding the root of COVID-19 now. You know, after we had to deal with it. And she said that and to quote her, she said, you can't handle the problem without going to the root first. And that's completely false. I don't agree with the ideology at all. And if we did that, if we abided by that ideology, the way we approached COVID-19, we'd be screwed.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you said, that apparently you can't solve a problem if you don't look at what caused it first. And I think about, we had fight night 3 nights ago. I mean, me and Kant were fighting. You guys have seen Kant. If he hit me in the head, and I stopped for a second to think about why would he do that? What's going on here? And then I decided to react. I think I would have been on the floor. Like, you can solve a problem, or at least push back against a problem, stop a problem from getting worse before you solve the root of it. I mean, if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have detectives. We wouldn't have all this stuff that she was trying to be so smart with this.
Yeah, she tried to, like, you know how politicians are.
What'd you call it, Plato?
Yeah, like she tried to be Plato and like try to say something philosophical, but it didn't really work out. And that's also not to say that we're not going to go back and figure out the root problem, because, you know, I think the root problem is also important, but it's just like the way she said is like the timeline of finding that root problem is important to find it first rather than fix the problem and what's in front of you.
Yeah, and it's the American last agenda. It's like let's stop the influx of people into America who a lot of these people are bad people. The electorate is being shifted completely in America. And, I mean, conservative outlets will say, well, this is all just because she doesn't want to solve this. And, I mean, there's a plausibility to that, because they know that they want to kind of pack the electorate now so they can have more voters, which makes sense. And all of her things, if you believe that, they corroborate pretty accurately. But also on that agenda, it's like, yeah, let me go to Guatemala, let me go on the airport, let me do all this before I even... She hasn't proposed any type of legislation. No, and nothing. This is her thing. I mean, just like we talk about with their willingness to do anything to seize power, kind of like this, are we really going to discard the fact that you're just kind of letting this happen because you're not saying anything to stop it, and you're kind of dodging the question? Like when they asked, why are you coming now, days after Trump announced he's going to go, days after the 56 House Republicans said she needs to be removed from this role, then she decides to go. She's saying, why are you coming now? And she says, well, I mean, I've been planning to come since March.
So, yeah, so her response to that was just, it was even worse. Like, she didn't have to say that she was 3 months late to her first thought of going to the border, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't answer the question at all. And she probably laughed after that, too. I didn't listen. I couldn't listen.
She had to have. There's no way she didn't.
I mean, she's so funny, you know? She's hilarious.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And obviously, it's all for show. It's all for the camera. And like with any other politicians that we talk about.
But thankfully, we have Joe Biden. So she stays in the vice president role.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer he has left.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I mean, we're not even a year... Like, how many months? 5 months?
It's been 5 months, yeah. 120 days. Need time. Those deer with the Kevlar vests.
That's so funny.
The deer are going to come and get him. I mean, I don't know. But obviously, Kamala, I don't think she's too interested in solving this problem. She didn't really give us much when she went there at all. She looks like she's aging a lot in this past 5 months.
Yeah, and I really didn't think that anybody could beat out Obama, because Obama aged so fast during his presidency, but Kamala is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she looks super old.
She looks like 7 or 8 years older, right?
It's all that laughing.
Yeah, that laughing takes a toll.
Yeah. More wrinkles.
But, I mean, that's all I got for this one.
That's all I got, too.
Let's hope that this stuff starts to calm down. Maybe we can get back to some normalcy in America, but...
Hopefully. But, you know, we can only hope.
I doubt it. So,
yeah,
we'll catch you guys later, all right? Peace out.